Max stared at Josephine's phone number for over 5 minutes. He was back in his little flat, sitting on the edge of his bed. It was almost 2 a.m., but he wasn't drunk or tired. He was simply elated at having finally got her number. 3 weeks ago, he'd been at that bar he usually stopped at after work. It served craft beer and overpriced avocado chips. He noticed a woman closing the little gallery across the road and asked the barman about her. "Oh, that's Josephine. She just bought that place. She comes in here from time to time," he said with a smile. Max felt himself blush. He thought Josephine was beautiful. A bit quirky, perhaps. Financially independent. His kind of girl. The next night, he waited at the bar, and when she came in, he smiled and nodded at her in a non-threatening way, a gesture he had practiced in the mirror. Fortunately, she responded in kind and even added a little wave. A week later, he hovered at the window of her gallery, looking quizzically at the paintings, hoping to chat. But when she came out and asked what he thought of Chagall, his mouth went dry. Eventually, he mumbled something about trying to draw a horse when he was 6 and it looking like a lobster. Josephine giggled. Max, filled with tentative confidence, said, "Fancy a beer later? I'll be at that bar." But before she could answer, her phone rang inside the gallery. She apologized and disappeared inside. Max felt daft, wondering what on earth had possessed him to mention that lobster horse. That night, Max waited at the bar, making himself not to stare at the doorway, trying to look casual, even as he tore 18 napkins to shreds. 2 gin and tonics later, he was well on his way to being drunk when Josephine walked in. He beckoned her over, but then nerves overwhelmed him, and he was only able to gesture at the bar and smile awkwardly. "So," Josephine said, "you're not an artist." Max was so nervous that all he could do was to reach into his pocket and take out his phone. He could feel her watching as he scrolled through his pictures. "Did you try to show me something?" she said. He held the screen right up to her face. Too close. She took half a step back and gently unpeeled his fingers off the phone. "What am I looking at? Is that a frog?" "Oh, that's the lobster horse I told you about." "Oh, right. And does the artist of this masterpiece have a name?" 4 artisanal beers, 2 portions of sustainably sourced fish and chips, and 1 fair trade cold brew coffee served in vacuum flask later, Max was trying on cliches like new shirts. On cloud 9. Too good to be true. The best thing since sliced bread. But when Josephine checked her watch and made a swift exit for the last bus home, he felt himself empty, despite his full stomach. The barman nudged him. "When you were in the toilet, she asked me to give you this," and handed over a coaster with a phone number on. So now here he was on the edge of his bed. He hadn't felt this nervous ever since having colonic irrigation 2 days before a long-haul flight. He looked at her number again. She had a slanting hand that offered curls at her end of her nines, like hellfish shoes. An artist for sure. At a pub the next day, Max's friends insisted that he waited 3 days before calling. They had held what felt like an international summit discussing the issue. The pub landlord had even turned off the jukebox so that some old men from the other side of the room could offer their opinion. Now the third day had come, and he felt it was too soon. His pulse quickened as he started to dial her number. His voice went up several octaves so that it was inevitable it would come out as his prepubescent squeak. He stopped right away and locked the coaster in his desk. At lunch on Sunday, his mates asked how the first date had gone, and Max revealed that he had yet to call. "Played cool for once, huh? I like it," said one. They all cheered, reached over and slapped his back. One or two squeezed his shoulder until he winced. He couldn't help but smile at their support. He spent the next day drawing mind maps of potential greetings and conversation topics, but the nerves overwhelmed him. He went for a brisk walk to calm down, but disguised himself in a hat and glasses in case he bumped into her. The last thing he wanted was to see Josephine before actually calling her. It would be artless. The next month, over the Easter weekend, he ended his tenancy prematurely and found a flat and a new job 300 miles away. This was, without a doubt, the coolest he had ever played it. Max woke each morning with the coaster framed next to his bed, the edges slowly yellowing in the sunlight. That Christmas, he almost gave in by calling to wish her a merry time, but he distracted himself from the task by stuffing himself with Portland cheese. He knew he had to play hard to get. 3 years later, he was married to a pretty barmaid from Barcelona called Gladiata. She had curly hair and taught him Spanish on their patio in the evenings. Max moved Josephine's phone number to a small file with his financial documents. He ignored it, knowing that not only would it be unfaithful to call Josephine, but also a little too keen. As his and Gladiata's son graduated from the Naval Academy, they shed happy tears, but divorce came not long after. They both acknowledged that they cared for each other, but their son had been the only obligation fusing them. They stayed in touch, but by the following summer, Gladiata has found a new man with hairier arms who worked for the coffee plantations. Max returned to being a bachelor, and by the end of that decade, he had retired. At his retirement party, he made a speech thanking his team and highlighting patience as the most important virtue of success. Now, living off his pension, he had more free time. He managed his gout with a careful diet. His bilingual grandchildren visited most of the holidays, and he tickled them when they tried to steal his hat. But gardening one day, he felt tightness in his chest, like 100 hammers pressing down. A few weeks on a large white bed saw him right again, but he had to take it easy. He had a medication and a cane, else the doctor's threat of a pacemaker would swiftly become a reality. One evening, after asking his benevolent neighbor to fetch a box down from his attic, Max found a folder containing Josephine's telephone number. The name of the bar that he had frequented was almost invisible, but her number, in black pen, was still there. He grew nervous and wondered if he should take any more pills before making the call. A few moments later, he could hear her phone ringing. A childish voice answered with glee. "Hello there," said Max. "I was wondering if a lady by the name of Josephine lives there." The child giggled. There was some commotion, and a second, more mature voice came on the phone. "Hello? Sorry, my daughter loves playing with the phone." Max repeated his question. "Oh, I'm afraid my mom had an early night tonight, but I'm sure she can call you back tomorrow. May I know who's calling?" Max smiled confidently. it's Max, the man with the horse lobster. She'll know. She gave his number, wished her well, and hung up. Max's friends from the pub years ago would have been proud. They would have reached across and slapped his back at how cool he had played it. Josephine has his number now. The ball is now in her court. He wasn't going to double message or try again tomorrow. He wasn't going to wander by her door or look her up on the internet. No. And quite rightly, now it was all down to her.